like a march into Tone City.
Gosh.
You know?
And now we're here.
And now here we are. It's. I mean, that was really lovely.
Oh, well, thanks.
It was like if, yes, I spent some time at Disneyland recently, and it's had the happy-go-lucky sort of whimsical, feel of that.
It turns out the Beatles are amazing. So,
it turns out.
Yeah.
It turns
this
out.
Whole
I
time.
like that. I like that. So, Sooze, you know what? My favorite videos are the ones where I don't even tell the Sooze what we're going to do before we just hit record and we start doing it.
That happens.
So, okay, we just profiled, and you and I just filmed a demo for the 79 Rose Morris Kemper Profile Pack. What is it? Let's show some photos right here. It's an AC30 from 1979 from the Rose Morris era of Vox. So it's after JMI. So all the ones that we like famously, like the 60s, the Tom Petty tone,
right.
what the Beatles were playing, right? Were all 60s things. And they invented top boost in the 60s, like Stu G's copper panel, is a pre-top boost. The 66 is a top boost. It's a factory top boost that came later.
Okay.
And those are sort of the most famous AC30s. But when you get into 79 through sometime in the 80s, a company named Rose Morris was making the AC30s for Vox. They might have owned Vox. I really have no idea. The point is, this is the amp. These amps are less sought after, but are becoming more sought after because at the time, in the early 90s, when there was a real resurgence in British rock, Oasis, that's the only band I can think of right now. These were the cheap amps, right?
Gotcha.
And musicians working musicians always buy the cheaper amps. They become famous and they sort of lift the cachet of said amp.
Okay.
So if you want to sound like Noel Gallagher, you probably would go for the Rose Morris era
interesting.
Vox rather than the vintage one because he's played a bunch of amps, but that was the one he was playing for a lot of the early Oasis stuff.
Okay.
Because that's what they could afford.
What would be like the overall difference in the sound between these and like the really old ones?
I'm so glad you asked. So one of the big differences, show a picture here, is the blue frame Fane speakers. So Fane was making speakers, and Vox started buying these, and they had Fane make them in blue frames to sort of be reminiscent of the Celestian blue, which they were no longer using. Was it a cost-saving measure? Probably. But it has a different sound. How? And you know what, Sooze? You just asked a great question. How do they differ? Let's find out in this free downloadable 66 versus 79 AC performance that I've created here, and we can go through them. So we were just listening to the 79 Rose Morris. Let's see how they're different. I kind of think the Rose Morris might be better.
Oh, interesting.
And it hurts me a little to say that because I'm pretty much a vintage snob. And I love the old AC30s.
Yeah.
But honestly, all the AC30s always sounded good.
Yeah.
Let's see how they sound.
Agree, yeah.
79 Rose Morris J3. Is it better or worse than the 66 top boost? We're going to find out. Take it away, Sooze. You're on the neck there, huh?
Neck,
Let's do a little bridge, too.
Bridge?
That is beautiful. All right, that was J3. Both channels jumper together. Both channels are kind of at noon. That's all I remember. These are mic'd with the same mics. Here's the 66 AC Top Boost J3.
It's a pretty big difference.
Let's go back to 79. '66. So what's the difference you hear there?
When you go to the 66, that's just that brighter, crispier kind of, I don't know, just really present sounding. And then the 79 is a little bit duller, but in like a cool way, like a mids way.
Which do you prefer?
I think for that stuff, the first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like I have these amps, like in general, that's the difference I hear. There is, the Fane speakers to me don't really sound like Celestian Blues. They don't have that Alnico thing. But it also sounds like I have on the 66 Top Boost, I think I was really trying to contrast it to the pre-Top Boost AC we had done.
Okay.
So the cut is pretty open.
Okay.
And it sounds like to me the cut's a little less open on this one. So it's not going to be like this when you download the performance, but if you wanted to sort of quote unquote adjust the cut on an AC30 is the power amp. There's a control in the power amp that actually cuts high end out of there. So it's a low pass filter.
Okay.
But it's doing it in the power section, completely separate from the other controls.
Huh.
So the treble and middle, the treble and bass in an AC30 are in the preamp.
Okay.
That cut is actually in the power amp.
Huh.
So if you want to simulate that, we can do give it some a little rough approximation would be go to the cabinet section, and on the AC66, let's roll down the high shift, and I'm going to put it at 0.7 for no other reason than I'm guessing.
This is real science here, people.
So play the 66 now.
Okay.
And see how that sounds. Now here's a 79. '66 again. '79 again. Sounds to me like the high end is pretty
the high end's
even
closer.
now, right? But the 79 still has kind of a more focused thing, and I think it's really a good amount of it's the lack of bass. Play a little something with some low strings, power chords or something. Here's the 79, and I think it's going to have a little less low end. Good riff choice, bro.
I think
As soon as you started playing, I was like, that's perfect riff choice for what we're trying to do here. Go ahead. Sorry, this is a 66. Wait, go back. All right, 79. '66. The high-end presence seems to be the same to me, but the 66 still has more treble. There's still like a little more of a chimier push kind of thing, but man, you know what? Every time you play one of them, I think I like it more than the last one.
Yeah.
And we're just flopping. What do you think?
I think I like the first one, the 79. The
79?
Better than and I would put it in the mids category.
Yeah.
A little bit more like, I don't know, pointed or something on the mids. But.
There definitely is a little more high and low end in the 66.
Okay.
It sounds like it's more open.
Okay.
Whereas
like
the
full
79
range.
Sounds a little more focused.
Yeah. Okay.
Open, focused. All right. Normal channel of both these amps. 79, N4, and the 66 N4. I think I've kind of normalized the gain a little bit. I think they'll be the same. Let's find out. Yeah, I just got to eke the game up like a 0.2 on that one to make them even. But here we go. This is the 79 with the normal channel. The last one was the jumper channel. And whenever I jumper amps, as I roll the gain up, I kind of start to let the bright channel go up faster than the normal channel.
Okay.
Because both amps give you low end, and when you have a lot of it, it gets really girthy. You kind of need more of the high end channel to balance it out. So this is here's just the girthier channel by itself. 66. Kind of got a similar thing happening here. So I'm going to take that cabinet section and I'm going to do the same thing. It sounds like I have the cut open more. And so I'm going to bring it down 0.6 because that's kind of like 0.7, but a little bit different. So that looks more intentional. So now we're 79. We're the pros, Sooze. That is lovely. Now here's the 66.
This happens often on, I feel like, this comparison type thing where lower gain, more difference. Higher gain, less difference.
Less difference, yeah.
I feel like those are interchangeable at this point.
Because I feel like actually the 79 is just flat out better.
Okay. On both examples.
On this example especially. Okay. On the other one, I could go either way.
Oh, interesting.
But for this, and I noticed it when I was actually profiling the amp, I plugged in the 79 and went, that is an exceptional sounding normal channel in a Vox. A lot of times I feel like the normal channels in Voxes are kind of lackluster. Like they do a thing, but I think, well, I'm either going to be jumpered or brilliant.
Right.
You know? But this was kind of the first Vox that I ran into where I went, man, I really like that. Try this again.
That's cool.
That was a 79. This is 66. You know, Brian May, people are already probably putting this in the comments because I've waited this long in the video to say it, but Brian May is probably the most famous user of the normal channel of the Vox. Okay. And he also has used Rose Morris era Voxes at many points. He's had a really long career. He's definitely used 60s ones, but he has used Rose Morris. And I think it's because it has a normal channel that just sounds really good.
Okay.
It's not overly dark or overly fat. It just sounds not top boosted, if that makes sense.
Right. Are they both called top boosts on the 79 and 66, or did you say brilliant channel?
Okay, so the amp itself is top boosted.
Okay.
But then the channels are still normal and brilliant.
I gotcha.
So there's a normal channel, brilliant channel. But then what happens is, like 60, I believe it's in 63 or 64, Vox starts making a mail order kit that they will send you if you like, you know how it was back then. There's no internet, there's no cow.
Right.
You mailed them probably something like $3, 3 quid,
yeah,
right? Okay.
Right.
And they would mail you a capacitor and a pot and two potentiometers, a bass and treble, and then that's why on the back of some of the Voxes they would drill into the back. And you'll look on the back, and it looks like Sooze. It's non-top boosted, but then you'll see a bass and treble, not on the top panel, but cut into the back of the amp.
Like a mod on the...
It's a mod.
Yeah, okay.
And so they would let people do this. Well, you could do it to yourself because the new ones... they just invented this kit. They weren't even putting them on yet. Then there's factory top boost, where you can see it was done in the factory, and very few amps, they installed their own kit in the factory. That what they did was they converted the AC30 to now being a top boost model, and the kit was sort of like, for all the people that bought the old model, here's how to upgrade to the new model yourself.
This is like an iOS patch.
It is. It's like an aftermarket, kind of spoiler for your car.
Yeah, right.
It's something like that. Like you want to make it look like the new.
Yeah.
So you put a different grill on it. You add the new motor. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You put the new pickups in the guitar from last year. You get the new ones Fender's using.
Okay.
So
another question for you. So what's the speaker difference here? I think you may have talked about that.
But 66 is going to be, we call them silvers. Silvers and blues are the same. Celestion was just changing the paint color. Nothing changes, to my knowledge, with silver and blue speakers from that era. They're the classic speaker that's in Voxes. They're Alnico silvers, sometimes called silver bells.
Okay.
The earliest ones were blue. They pretty quickly went to silver. So Sooze 62 is blue. Almost all the top boosted amps, though, are a lot of them are silvers. There might be more.
Okay.
There might be more silver painted Celestion Alnicos in top boosted Voxes than blues. But for whatever reason, people still think of, when they think of the AC30, it's a top boosted with blues. And
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
And and the 79 are Fanes. Completely different speaker, but they called them blue frame.
Gotcha.
Because to make it blue seemed, I think, a little less different.
And you think that the speaker that we're hearing maybe goes into the tone difference? Or?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
for
it's all an equation, as you say.
For sure,
But,
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, Fane has always made speakers that are always a little bit different when they get used compared to Celestion stuff. So none of their models are like copies or something. It's not like warehouse speakers, or it's not even like Eminence that has some models that are meant to design for other things. Fanes were used in high watts. They were used in here. I'm trying to think what other amps Fanes went into back in the day.
Okay.
But it was just another speaker manufacturer in the UK, and I think a lot of times they were cheaper than Celestion.
Okay, gotcha. Are they still around?
Fane is, somebody owns Fane and makes Fane speakers now.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, because there are some modern production Fanes. I don't know who it is.
Okay.
But somebody's making them.
What's this fifth slot?
Well, this fifth slot was just nothing, and so I just threw in a profile that I liked. It's the 79 Rosemore's B3.
Nice.
That's just for the people to enjoy. So here's what we can do. Let's see. This has been a little while. So here is the 79 Rosemore's B3. You can download this on the Tone Junkie Tips and Tricks page. Where did we land? I personally am going to say I think I like the 79 more for its tone. But because I own both these amps, the 66 wins for mojo. It just has more mojo.
Just a good, you got to note that.
Yeah, and there's a slight difference. Like the grill cloth on the 79 has a little bit of red in the pattern, and it's not maroon. And it's like, well, was maroon too expensive that year in thread?
I see what you're saying.
Just let it. Why'd you do
But
that?
those aren't in the profile.
I feel like it captures the essence of the maroon.
Right.
It's
It's getting good over here.
Because the 79 is a little more aggressive, which could be,
okay.
Red is
down
like,
to the color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely the angrier of the amps.
By the way, I'm with you. I'm digging the 79, especially with this guitar right now sitting next to it. It sounds great.
Right, and here's where the whole Tone Junkie thing falls apart. You know what I mean? Because we've really been believing that the Holy Grail vintage amps are the best.
Right, yeah.
And I kind of feel like, well, let's let the cat out of the bag a little bit. That you kind of, if you just use your ears, you might actually prefer the $2,000 amp to the $6,000 amp.
Ah, a man of the people. Let's hear it. Number 5.
All right, number 5. Here's B3. Sooze, I'll let you play us out. I've been HW.
I've been Sooze.
Sooze and HW. Out. That was a good outro jam.
I gotta make these in the songs one day, you know?